Well,
Good
hello
morning.
everybody. Good morning. Welcome to Trengo Tips, where we talk every month or so. We talk about a new topic in Trengo, and this time we're going to talk about rules. We did Flowbot last time, but this time about rules, which is my favorite subject. I'm Danique, by the way. Some might have already joined the past few times, but I'm a product specialist at Trengo, and next to me is...
Yeah, my name is Onno. Welcome back for the people who are joining our webinars every month, of course. And I'm Onno, also in the customer success team. And welcome. Some of you might have already noticed, but we have a chat, so feel free to say hello, tell me where you're from, what company you're tuning in from, maybe from what country. We're more than happy to welcome you.
Yeah, and so please let us know in the chat. We do want to say one thing about that. Kirsten, our lovely colleague, she's on holiday. She's enjoying her time in Disneyland, actually. But she won't be here this time. So we will answer all your questions at the end of the webinar. So if you have any concerning what we're explaining, or you want to just ask a question, please feel free to do so in the chat. But we'll come back to them after we finished our full explanation. Because hopefully we will answer your questions already. But we'll come back to that later. Yeah,
and we also, during this webinar, we hope that you feel inspired. So if you think, like, rules is quite a big topic, I have to say, like, you can do a lot with rules, but hopefully we're going to find out after this webinar. But also know that you can, if you have any rule you want to set up, just send us an email as well. But we will touch on that later as well.
Yeah.
But let's get started. So Trengo tips, we're going to talk about rules, if you probably already know. And we're going to explain it, we're going to give you some examples, give you some tips and tricks. And this is going to be the agenda for today. We're going to tell why rules, like why should you consider rules, why is the good choice to get more into the rules inside of Trengo. What are rules? Not quite important as well. Then it's going to show you everything, what you can do within rules.
How they're made up and
the certain conditions, the actions. We're going to create a few of them, actually 4 of them we're going to create. Some of the use cases we get quite a lot from our customers, but they're just 4. But then again, there are way more things you can do with rules, but we're going to show you how to build 4, and we're going to give some quick demo together with some use cases, and we'll round off with some tips on how to use the rules. And if we have some time left, of course, we're gonna answer as much questions as we can.
Yeah.
So that's the agenda for today. Why rules?
Good question.
Yeah, good question. That. So basically, think of processes that you are doing in your company, day-to-day task, manual tasks, maybe repetitive tasks that you're doing daily. I put some benefits of rules in a little list. So I'm gonna go through them. So one of them is you will increase the efficiency across your organization. Think about tickets that are coming into your inbox, have them automatically assigned to one of your teammates or one of the teams within your company, but also auto close or auto forward. We have a lot of customers having certain emails that are just for one particular person, so you can set up rules making sure that if we receive emails from this certain party or partner, you can auto-assign or auto-forward it to the particular colleague. This really helps you to work more efficient also across your teams and really increase this time efficiency, which is actually the next point, save time and allowing teams to do the more important stuff. As you work with a lot of different tools and you combine them, and of course there are a lot of things on a day-to-day workday that you need to do, so make sure you make time for them. And automating workflows helps you to save time and there save money.
Most importantly. And also, if you allow your teams to only do the work that they actually need to do. So the work they don't need to do is they don't need tickets to come to them. You can automate those processes. So if it's a certain domain or a certain subject line or anything that goes to one particular agent or a team, that's all automated, and then that's all tasks or steps that somebody might be doing right now in your company, which they shouldn't. And it will save the time for that person, but it will also save time in the end for the people that need to receive a certain ticket.
Exactly. Yeah, another point: communication, better communication between your departments. Like in Trengo, we have labels, we have custom fields, and all kinds of things. How to communicate within your teams, and making sure those fields are filled in automatically really helps you to to communicate between your department without actually talking to each other, but like with this indirect communication things such as labels, custom fields. There's a lot of automations around these as well. Contact groups, also one of them. So it helps you to better your communication between your departments, and also keep that kind of data up to date. Like if you have to do everything manual, there's a bigger chance of maybe some team members forgetting to add labels or to fill in custom fields or take actions upon custom fields or contact groups. With automation, basically, that's just not forgetting it. It's automated. It's the machine, so it keeps your data up to date.
That's what I like best about rules. Like there's no room for errors, basically. So if for example you need to label a ticket, that's all done manually most of the time. But if you can automate that, that's gonna save time. It's gonna keep your data correct and straight. So that's all just like really, really nice if you ask me.
Yeah. And then the last, but I think not the least, I think one of the most important one is better customer experience. Of course, within your company, like with better communication, saving times, that also contributes to a better customer experience. But what about auto replies or rules setting up based on maybe a holiday season? We had a webinar last year about the holiday season. We're probably going to do one next month as well. Like how can you make sure people get the right information at the right time or at the right moment or in the right circumstances? It's all about improving this customer experience, and with rules, there's a less chance of missing some stuff out or forgetting about some people, and we're gonna touch on that topic later a bit as well in our examples to create a better experience for your customers, but also for employees. I think it's both ways, of course. Make happy employees and happy customers. So enough reasons. If you think of some reasons yourself, please feel free to share them. I mean, we can go on and on why we think rules can add value to your business in Trengo, but we hope to give you some more details on that in the upcoming few minutes. So basically rules allow you to automate certain parts of your workflow. That's basically in one sentence what we do. With a rules conversation will no longer require manual tagging or assigning where we talked about, and will be handled automatically. And then Nika's gonna show you exactly how you can set up a rule and how everything works. So
how this magic happens.
So therefore
basically.
we go to Trengo.
Into Trengo. I'm not sure my mouse is working. So the easiest way to explain is just by showing you what the actual rules look like in Trengo. So first off, what I do want to add is when you create a rule always exists out of 3 parts. So you have a trigger, you have a condition, and you have an action. And that is the most important part to always remember when you start making a rule or when you're thinking about a process or a workflow that you want to automate. There should be a trigger, there should be a condition, and there should be, of course, an action.
Maybe a similar, I think a familiar one, if this then that in coding, and I think that sounds familiar to a lot of people. That's like the same principle here as well with the rules. Yeah,
definitely. So when you create a rule, it gives you a random title, but of course, please do change it into whatever fits your needs. You can set the rule to active or inactive. This could mean, for example, if you have a really busy moment in your inbox and you want to send out an auto reply, you can toggle it on. If you don't need it anymore, you can toggle it off. It won't take effect anymore. There's an option to add channels. If you don't, you can add just a channel. So like you can choose support, which is an email channel. You can also use a website chat. And according to the channels that you add, there might be a slight change in what you can actually do in the conditions and the actions. But for now, we're just going to go for support. And this is one which we talked about, the trigger. So we call it when. So when this happens, the rule starts working. So we have 4 of those. So do keep in mind, if you're thinking about making a rule, these are triggers that need to start the rule. So there's an inbound message received, which is basically a customer reaching out to you. The conversation is assigned, which is when you assign a conversation either to another team member or the Flowbot assigns a ticket to a team. So that all covers this. Outbound messages send also really clear, I think, when you send a message to your customer or when you close the conversation. So those are always the 4 triggers which you can choose from. We do recommend just choosing one. Sometimes you can have 2 triggers which might take effect at the same time, but try to keep it as simple as possible. So choosing one is in most cases the best step to take forward. It can happen that you have a rule which needs to go after each other, and that's where sort order comes in place. So first, for example, a label needs to be added before the next rule can take effect, and that's where you can use sort order in. So you can type a 1 or 2 and they will pop up in the right ranking in your lists. So that is kind of all about triggers. I think that already now you might have some ideas in your head about like, oh, I could use this or I could use that. But yeah, we're going to talk about conditions, which opens up a whole new world of possibilities, because there's a lot. You can see there's a long list. Some are kind of similar. We have contact phone, contact profile. They are kind of the same inside and outside business hours. But these conditions are all to specify your rule, basically. So you receive an inbound ticket and you only want a specific type of ticket to apply the rule to, so to take the action. This is where you can specify what you want to happen. So for example, you can say, well, if this ticket is on the inbound message and it contains the label urgent, then an action needs to start taking place. There's tons of them in there, so do feel free to look through them. We're going to touch upon a few in our use cases, but yeah, they are all pretty clear. And what you do see happening now is that, remember what we talked about when you add a channel, that sometimes different parts of the rules section gets unlocked. That also happens now, because I chose inbound message. There are 3 new conditions that I can take. So is it a first message, message body, or email attachment? If I, for example, choose assigned, I get calls or type, which is a different set of conditions you can use. So do play with it a bit and see what you can come up with. So for now, let's put it back there. So yeah, conditions are basically to specify your rules. And you can see here that you can use an or an and statement. And these come in handy when you have multiple conditions that you all want to add in one rule. If you choose or, this will mean that one of these 2 conditions must be met. So it's only one of the 2 that must be met, and then the rule already applies. If you're talking about an and statement, it would mean that the ticket label urgent must be added to the ticket, but also the contact name must equal this. So or makes it so that only a part of the set of conditions must be met, and makes it that the full set of conditions must be met.
Yeah.
You can play around with it a bit, but it's always, what I always do is when I start making a rule, I talk out loud and say, well, does this actually take effect with the ticket that I have in mind? And just say it out loud, because it actually helps you to be like, do I need an and or an or statement?
Yeah. I think in our case, like we have this rule when we use or is whenever we have a lot of partners as well, like, and we sometimes we want to exclude them from a rule. Like we have rules for our customers, but if we want to exclude maybe, I don't know, 10 email addresses from this particular rule, we can put them in or, and those, if that's one of the conditions, they will not receive this particular rule. But then there are other use cases for that as well. Yeah,
because if you used and, then all the email addresses would be shown in the ticket, and that doesn't work. And the one thing that is another kind of like a feature within conditions is the option for the actual connection between the condition and what you want to happen. So here you see that if it's a ticket label, again, some parts only get unlocked with certain conditions, that you can say contains or not contains. But if we're, for example, going into, let's say, email subject, you can see here that we have a lot more. So an email subject equals would mean that whatever we write as input needs to fit 100%. So if we type a name here and or we say invoice, and a ticket comes in with this email subject only invoice, the rule would trigger. But if we say invoice and something else in the subject line, it wouldn't trigger. And that's where all the other things come in handy. So contains is the part which is less strict, I would say.
Yeah.
So if the word invoice is included in the email subject, then trigger the rule. Or contains word is something you can also use. And what I found really interesting and really nice to look through is start with and ends with. Because, for example, if you're talking about WhatsApp, all numbers have prefixes, right? So you could potentially use the prefixes to make certain rules for certain customers in a certain country. Ends with you could use for email domains. So there's a lot of things to uncover where you can use these connections as well. So yeah, I think that's all about conditions. It's really recommended to play around with it a bit because as you saw, there's new stuff uncovering all the time. We're gonna talk about it a bit more as well in our
we're gonna give some good examples.
Yeah. So that about conditions, and action is pretty straightforward because we have a when. So when this happens, that is our trigger, and these conditions apply. We want these steps to be taken. So actions give us some steps. So we can close a ticket, we can attach a label, we can forward to an email, and we can even say I want to attach the label urgent, but I also want to detach another label. So keep in mind that you can use multiple actions for one rule, which in some cases can be really handy. So yeah, I think that's it.
Maybe a good one to show, like you can also trigger CSET. That's one of our new features. We're not going to dive into that today. But via rules, you can also trigger CSET. So that's a new tool as well. Please check it out. We're going to put a webinar of that one day as well.
Maybe in the future, that's an interesting one as well. And you can put a Flowbot live. You can set notifications, route Ramen, or assigning to teams. Yeah, there's a lot you can do.
Nice. Yeah, like a good overview of the rules itself. Of course, play around with it, test it. There are a lot of possibilities. We're going to show you 4. Basically, we have in this webinar, we're going to create some rules. We have 4 rules, and the first rule I would like to show you is a follow-up message on the WhatsApp chat. So imagine a situation. I have an example here. So I created a little website chat here. So imagine in this rule, I would like to send a message if I'm not able to reply in a certain amount of time. So imagine you're on the chat, it's a really busy day, and you have a kind of SLA where you want to respond to your customers within a few minutes. But if you cannot reach this time, I want basically this rule to say after a certain amount of minutes to respond to the customer. So thanks, Nick. We said hello, imagine we're a customer. And basically the rule that I have set up is the following rule. So I'm going to rules. I created a name. It's on active, quite important. It's on the live chat on the right side. It's based on an inbound message. And basically what I want, as soon as the ticket is opened and the elapsed time is, for the demo I put 1 minute, but imagine it's 5 minutes. So for 5 minutes the customer haven't been helped yet. I want this rule to send a message from, hey, our agents will reply your message as soon as possible, but did you already check out our help center? To maybe already give them their first response, but also help them a bit further, hey, look at our help center, you can also find some information over here. Basically to enhance this customer experience, make sure they get a response, even though you cannot give that response straight away. So that's the rule that we want to create here. So we have the ticket in the inbox. So it's been here. Let's see if we can trigger the rule. There we go. So this is the rule has been triggered. So I haven't replied myself. It's been done by a rule. What's also nice to see is that there's a little robot icon. So you know all these kind of chats from that robot are from a rule. This is the message. So the customer has a reply. They can do something. You give a little call to action to go to our help center. And of course, if I see this, I can say, okay, let's reply to this customer. and start helping them.
Yeah, because at the moment we only say send out a message, but you could also say we're taking 2 actions. We're sending this message and we're sending a notification to a user, which can then pick this up, or add a label, or there's tons of things that you could do with this.
Yeah, exactly. So that's basically to give a quick first response time and also make sure the customers are aware of what's happening and they can kind of not waiting all the time. So that's one tip. Let me set everything up for the next example we're gonna give because I was following up on live chat. Next one is Flowbot conversation.
Yes, can you put on the Flowbot for
this
me?
One.
Or I can do it as well.
No, I can do it for you. Yeah. No worries.
So in this case, we have a Flowbot on a website chat. Ono is getting it ready. So imagine you have customers coming in and they're talking to your Flowbot, but not everyone gets to the end of your Flowbot, which we would say people are stuck, so to say. So people do not finish your flow, but these tickets still end up in your inbox and they will remain assigned to your Flowbot, which is something that, well, you could potentially manually close, but there's also ways to actually automate this, so you don't need to worry about that. So in this case, we're gonna start a conversation with our Flowbot, and it's gonna ask me a question. So it's gonna ask me what my name is, and that is Nick. There we go. And it's gonna ask me who do I want to come in contact with. So in this case, I want support. And now everything's working. What you can see here already happening is that there is a label attached. And I'm going to show you how we did that. I could do it like this as well, yeah. So very important, this use case comes in a few steps. So the very first step that you need to take to set this up is to make sure that the first step in your Flowbot has this action. So attach the label Flowbot conversation and go to the next step. This is basically an empty step, so nothing happens here that the customer is seeing, but you're basically making sure that every conversation that the Flowbot handles gets this label. Every time the ticket is handed over to a team, which you're going to see later on, gets a new label, and this label will be deleted. So this gives us an overview on how many tickets are stuck. So this is part 1, really important. As you could already see, it's already taken effect. So you see here that the message is, the ticket is labeled. And now for the rule part. Oh, we didn't put this on. I'm not sure. I think we need to do it again.
Oh, I had to put it active first.
Yeah, no, we're gonna do it again. We're gonna delete this, and then can you refresh the screen?
Refresh it? Yeah, let me do it.
We're just gonna do it. Yeah, take the steps again. Start conversation, and then I'm gonna say my name is Danik. Go, and I wanted to come in contact with support. So yeah, great. So everything is set up now. We archived the rule, so it wouldn't trigger with the last use case, but now it should trigger. So first step was adding the empty step to your Flowbot. Second step is to make sure that you have a rule in place which makes sure that all the tickets that do end up with an agent that are like done, basically completed, do not have that Flowbot conversation label anymore. So we are making a rule based on conversation is assigned, because as you can see here, I chose support. So this ticket is going over into the inbox, and because there is an assignment, because I chose here support, and in the Flowbot I said all tickets must come to the support team, the trigger applies. Also, what you saw in the ticket was that it contained Flowbot conversation, and the ticket team now equals support. It will then detach Flowbot conversation and then attach Flowbot to team. So if you look at this ticket, you can see here that it's all that's really nice to know as well, all the timestamps that you see, so you can actually read along what the rules are doing. So it is assigned to team support. That is great, and because of that, the Flowbot conversation is detached and Flowbot to team is taken on. So this is all going well. This ticket ended up with an agent, all good. But what we want to see now is a ticket not ending up with any agent. So we're gonna delete this again and then start over. So, oh, where's my mouse? So again, shall I be Anno this time?
Go for it.
It's gonna ask me a question, what my name is. I'm Anno now, and I'm not gonna go further. I stop as a customer. I'm not gonna click on any buttons, which would mean that your customer is stuck in the flow button. It will never go anywhere, basically, because it is not going through your complete flow. So we're getting a ticket in. Oh, why is it? Yeah, so we're getting a ticket in. It remains under assigned, but you can see here that a chatbot is assigned, which is the Flowbot. So the label Flowbot conversation is still there and will remain there because I'm not doing anything else. Which takes us to the second rule, is that we want to close all tickets that have this condition. So we have received an inbound message because I've typed a name here. So I've used user input, which counts as an inbound message. So please do keep in mind that this rule will only work if you have an actual trigger, which in this case is user input. As you could see, the ticket label, the ticket contains the label Flowbot conversation. The elapsed time is a minute, and then the ticket status is assigned, which you saw as well, because the ticket is assigned to the Flowbot. And last message direction is inbound. This is to make sure that if you do follow up as an agent, that it will not close the ticket for any reason. And as you can see here, the chat has been closed by the agent, which is the rule, the action that we took. So we close the ticket, we attach a new label which says Flowbot not completed, and we detach the label Flowbot conversation. This is more so for data, so you can look back into how many times did this happen, how many times were customers stuck. Yeah. And to take you back to the ticket, it has already been closed, and we should see it here. So you can see again, we created a ticket, it added a label, it was closed automatically after 2 minutes or 1 minute or so, and it added the Flowbot not complete label, but detached another label. Yeah. So yeah, I think that's all part of that. Yeah. It can be quite a few steps. So if you're like, I want this, but not entirely sure how to do it, please reach out. Yeah. We have all the steps written out, so we can just send them over to you, so you can do it.
And I
think
I think it's really important one as well, because of course you build a Flowbot, maybe to help leads or to help support agents. And what happens sometimes is that people just leave maybe the website, or they haven't finished your Flowbot, but they are warm leads because they entered your website, they interacted with your widget, and I think this is a really nice way to keep them on your radar and to make sure that they're helped.
It has like two factors, right? Because it makes sure that your assigned doesn't clog up, so it doesn't clog up your inbox, and it makes sure that you are aware when your Flowbot is perhaps lacking or you're missing leads, or based on what your Flowbot is meant to do, you can look back into it. And this as well, you can go into your labels and quickly see that, oh, I can't find it right now. So Flowbot not completed, you can quickly go into your labels and see all the tickets that have this label to, well, give you a quick access basically.
Yeah.
So yeah,
nice
that
one. I think that runs up really nice. So thanks, Annie. Another rule, an SLA rule, service level agreement, which I'm going to show. I'm just going to turn off the Flowbot because I need that to be turned off. But basically the next rule I want to show you is if you have certain SLA in your team, like you have, for example, okay, within 5 minutes, I want all the chats to be having their first response. A little bit similar to the one I showed like a few seconds ago, but also on email. Like maybe you want every email to be having a first response within 24 hours or maybe 4 hours. And this is where this rule can help you remind with. So basically, I'm going to start sending a message again because we need to wait 1 minute. Thanks, Danik, for setting up the Flowbot. But basically what I'm going to do is going to send a message again as a customer, and I want to receive like a notification whenever this is in the inbox for a bit too long. So as you see, the ticket came in, I had a notification, but I want to have another notification and an extra notable thing to make sure if it takes too long, if they haven't had a response yet. So I call it an SLA notification. I put it on my website chat and on my email, so this also counts for email. and it's based on an inbound message. The ticket status is open because it's in the inbox. And the elapsed time is 1 minute, so this rule will trigger after 1 minute. Of course, I did it for this demo, but here you can fill in 1 minute, but you can also choose 1 hour, and you even can choose a certain amount of days, which is quite important to know. And basically the action that I want to have on this ticket is that it creates a label with SLA 4 hours hit, in this case if it would be 4 hours. And I want to have a notification to Onno Davids. So this could be interesting to have a notification maybe to the team lead if he sees, hey, this ticket, or there are quite some tickets getting this SLA hit. So let's look into it. So if we go back to the ticket itself, let's see if it came into the new inbox. Hello. So I think it takes a bit longer before it triggers the rule, but this is the message that you come in. It's still a new imagine at this point. I'm working on some other things. I don't have the time to pick this ticket up directly, but I've set up the rule, and then let's see what happens. Just gonna double check if the rule is set up correctly, if we're not waiting for nothing. Did we save the rule when you activated it?
Maybe we did.
Maybe we made
I'm not entirely sure.
Maybe we made the same mistake, which is not a problem, of course. But let's do it again. So that's a really important one, which we mentioned in the beginning. Always make sure that if you activate a rule, that you also
if you send the message again, it should trigger.
Yeah, that you save the rule. I think that's. Oh, there we go. I think it worked, to be honest.
Yeah, it did.
So as you see, the rule that I showed in the beginning, it's still on. So they receive a message to make sure they at least have a response. But what also happened is we got a label. So it has SLA 4 hours hit. And as you might have seen as well, I got a notification. Me as a user, I put it to myself. Imagine I'm the team lead, and I have a notification from this triggered, and I can see, okay, this rule has been triggered. The label has been attached, and also maybe from a management perspective, you can go into this label and see, okay, how many tickets haven't made the certain amount of the service level agreement that we agreed with the team, which again is also you can also read it back in the Trengo analytics to see, okay, it doesn't happen it too much. Is there some training we maybe need to do? Is there maybe some arrangement we need to do? Do we need to try to work more efficient, or maybe get some more people in? This really helps you to kind of manage the expectations from your team, but also from your customers.
Yep.
So yeah, that's the one for making sure people are helped and making sure you hit your SLAs that you agreed with with your team. And then the fourth rule. Yeah,
this is a really easy one, but one I think is really nice to have, because I do think this applies to a lot of customers that they're not aware of that you can actually use this. I am going to send out a message on my own laptop, which has the subject line, your new invoice, and it has a attachment agreed to it. If you can go to Trengo, then I'm going to send it.
So I'm just gonna, the rule is activated.
Yes, the rule is activated.
One of the tips.
Yes. So what I said, I just sent an email out to the support email, which had an attachment to it, and the email subject line equals your new invoice. And I want this to be forwarded to our billing department. This is something, especially the one email attachment equals yes or no, can save you a lot of time, because all invoices, basically anything, you can just like quickly make sure it goes to the right person. You could assign it, of course, to your team in Trengo, but perhaps your finance team isn't working in Trengo for some reason. So you can they should, but you can also forward it to an email outside of your department. So yeah. So here we get it in. So this was my message that I sent out. So Trengo tips incoming message. You can see here there was an attachment, and you can see here in the timestamp that this ticket was forwarded automatically by the rule towards the email address that we filled in. Yeah. This is also why, even though the random words that you get for every rule are quite nice, as you can see here, unwavering reserve. I mean, that sounds really calming to me. But it's really important that you change this, because in the timestamps, you can see which rule take effect. So if you have a ticket where you're like, what happened? everybody can read back and see, oh, it was this rule, and then you can see what is actually happening.
Yeah, and also make it nice and short, like short and sweet, so it doesn't take you too much effort to recognize what is the rule.
What we do, for example, because we use all teams in Trengo, we make sure that all rules that are specified for a certain team, we have the initials of the team in there, we have which action it's supposed to take, and what condition, but then really short.
Yeah.
So it's all in like really small initials, basically.
Yeah.
But yeah, do find the structure in how you want to add rules, especially if you're going to add more.
Yeah.
So yeah.
And to come back on this rule that you just showed, I really like it because it also allows you to trigger rules like a lot of things that are happening outside of Trengo. Like imagine if you're working with a lot of freelancers or you have a lot of other parties or partners where you're working with.
There's your notification as well.
Oh, there's notification. Okay, we did hit the rule here. But this really helps you to automate all the things you do that are not only within your team but also outside of Trengo, with your customers of course, but also with partners or anything else. And I think that's a great way of using rules. So yeah, try to be creative. Try to not think in too many limits or only think in your own department or team. Really try to automate as much as you can because it's literally going to save you. It's going to save you a lot of time.
Yeah.
But was that the end of the demonstration?
The only thing we didn't want to end with is that it's basically one line that could summarize our entire webinar, which is every rule starts with a when this happens, which is always your trigger. And if this is true, which would be your conditions, take these steps, which would be the action. It's a development kind of thinking way. So if you keep that in the back of your mind when creating a rule, you're set up for success, basically. Yeah. And I'm really curious to see all your messages in the chat.
Yeah, like be creative, and if you think like, hey, I'm taking too long to do certain things, like reach out to us. We can think with you. We have a lot of cases day to day. Yeah. But yeah, I just want to come back to two questions because there are two questions in the chat. We have one from Marianne. Great webinar, thanks. That's always good to hear. Will it be recorded? Yes, it will definitely be recorded. We also have a YouTube channel where we have all the webinars in one playlist, but we also have tutorial videos about our product. We have customer stories on our YouTube channel and a lot of cool videos about our company culture as well. So please check that out. Maybe subscribe and don't miss anything out because there's a lot of valuable information there.
Yeah.
So we definitely have. I had a question from Karin, which I not quite get yet, about no option in the emails. I'm not sure if you were talking about rules still, if they were not possible on email, yes or no, but they are. But if we didn't get your question quite yet, please let us know. And otherwise send us an email, of course. But to come back on this page, we also have, of course, our help center, where there's a lot to find. And we have trengo.com/resources, where we kind of combine all our content, videos, webinars, white papers. So definitely check that out. Check it out as well.
We got a new question coming in. If we can show the empty step. Yeah. So if you can take me to Trengo.
Let me swipe to Trengo.
So we go to Flowbot. And we say this is our designated Flowbot for this webinar. So it's basically just you add a step and you toggle it all the way to the top. That's quite the easy step. I'm going to delete this one for now because we already have it. So I toggled this one all the way to the top. It's step A. That's the important part because it's the very first one. And you basically just don't fill anything in because as soon as we're going to add content here, it will show to the customer. So we're going to add text or user input. We don't want that for now. So the only thing we want is to take two actions. So we choose action and then we say attach label Flowbot conversation and go to step B, which is our actual start of the Flowbot. So welcome to a webinar about rules. What's your name? And then we just continue with how the normal Flowbot works. So I hope that explains.
And Karin, thanks for coming back. Still happy that you're still here. You were talking about the when option in the rule. Maybe then you can go back to the rule. This is basically for email and chat, the when. So not the when part. So this is also for email and also for chat. So it's when you receive an incoming message, that also counts for an incoming email. Or if you assign an email ticket to someone, that triggers it. And the same goes for outbound and inbound. So message also means, it's more like if it is an email or a WhatsApp or like on other channels, this would work. So it's also for email, definitely. I hope that answers your questions, Karen.
Yeah, so for now it's only these four, but to give you, like what we explained in in the last sentence, like this is all coming from like a really devy kind of perspective. So these are basically statuses in Trengo as well. So in-app message is a status that a ticket can have. An assignment is a status that a ticket can have. This is something you do not necessarily see in the front end of Trengo, but in the back end, this is what's happening. So a ticket gets an actual status, and that's why we can use these rules.
Yeah.
So for now, it's these rules, these triggers that you can use. But if you're curious to see if your workflow can work, even if you're like, I'm not entirely sure because I don't know which trigger I need, do reach out to us. Like if you can explain to us what your situation is, what's currently happening, and what your ideal situation is, we can think along with you, test a bit as well, and give you back a rule that should work.
Yeah. So I think it's that then. Let's give it. Let's run it off. In the screen here, again, please follow our LinkedIn page. Like there are exciting things happening at Trengo. Like we also like innovating, getting a lot of cool features are coming up.
Yeah.
And always feel free to send us an email on team@trengo.com. And good luck with automating your workflows. I'm probably gonna save a lot of time. So let us know what you're gonna do with this time. I think that's also nice. I mean, that's what we're doing it for. And thank you very much, and see you next month. Probably we're gonna do a webinar about the holiday season. So let's get into the Christmas vibe already. Maybe it's too early, but it's nice to look forward to that one. But thank you very much, and see you in the next webinar.
Yes. Bye.
Bye bye.